哇！今日好開心啊！喺我身邊咧就係靚女練馬師啊，即係指數定律喺我哋嘅香港一哩賽入邊榮獲季軍啊！練馬師凌靄琛小姐。Welcome to Hong Kong, Annabel. Actually, our interview is delayed for 1 week because of the flights. But actually, I'm really happy because now I can really send my big congratulations to you. One well in the Hong Kong Mile.
No, well, it's been a fantastic experience. This is my first time ever to Hong Kong. And yeah, I've been very well looked after. The Hong Kong Jockey Club do an amazing job with the internationals. They make us feel very welcome. And that's gone from, you know, looking after our horse so well, looking after our groom. And we had many owners travel from Australia to come and watch. And look, very hard to beat your local stars, California Spangle and Golden 60. They were too tough to beat, but we were very proud of our horse. He was big price, and to run within a length of Golden 60 was very exciting for us and for Australia.
Okay, if 1 week ago I asked you the same question, actually, do you have same confidence as now? Because before the race, a lot of people think he's not that optimistic for the results. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, isn't it, after the race that I thought he could run top 3, but I was quietly confident. I think maybe people slightly underestimated his form in Australia. He's Group 1 placed. He should have won the Group 1 Toorak, which is a Group 1 mile. It is only a handicap. And he's perhaps been a length or two off the weight for age Group 1 horses in Australia, but often he has a very bad barrier, like he had jumped from the outside barrier yesterday as well, and he's quite often had excuses, but he's always been very consistent. And he's a horse that's travelled before, which I think is important, bringing a horse. You know, he originally was trained in Ireland. He travelled to Royal Ascot, he travelled to France, he won a Group 1 1400 metre race in France, and we know how hard it is to win Group 1s in Europe. And then he's been multiple Group 1 placed in Australia, so I was confident that he was the right horse to bring to Australia. And James McDonald, he's the best jockey in the world, just recently crowned best jockey in the world, and he was really happy with his work on Tuesday. I wasn't here at the time, but he rang me and he said, I think he's going as good as ever. So he said the local horses, the 2 good horses, will be hard to beat, but he said, I think we'll go close, run close to them, and he was right.
So first time you was in Hong Kong. What do you think about the standard of racing in Hong Kong and the stable equipment? You happy with that? Similar to most you have it in Australia?
Yeah, the Sha Tin was incredible. I was blown away by the size of the grandstand and by the facilities. It's probably Hong Kong racing's probably quite close to Australian racing, more so than Europe, in that we train on the racetrack as well. So a lot of similarities, but just world-class facilities. The stables are very good, and everybody's been so accommodating and friendly. So I hope to come back with more horses in the future.
Okay, some of the owner is from Hong Kong. Okay, Hong Kong is a little bit different from Australia because we have lots of entertainments, business, socialization. As compared to Australia owners, you think is it a different attitude in having horses?
There's some similarities and some differences. I think both nations are very passionate about racing, and there's a lot of, in Australia, there's a lot of ownership that's syndicated. Some horses may have 20, 30, 40 owners in a horse, whereas I've perhaps noticed Hong Kong's, there's a lot more individual owners as well. But yeah, I'd noticed that there's just so much passion, and the Hong Kong crowd. I looked down from I was on up a few levels, and I looked down just before the Hong Kong Mile, and you could see the crowd all cheering for Golden 60 before the race. Just such passion from all the Hong Kong people for that horse, and of course for their winner, California Spangle. And yeah, it was really special to see.
I know you are the person who likes to take up challenge, so I think definitely you'll come back again with few more and more good horses. But will you consider to shift your career to Hong Kong in the future?
Oh, look, I'd certainly. I'm always open to everything. I'm quite ambitious, and you know, Hong Kong is seen as the pinnacle of racing. So it's very different here. It's very challenging, and a lot of trainers from around the world aspire to train here, and a lot of the jockeys as well, as we we see, like the likes of Hugh Bowman. He's one of our best jockeys in Australia. He's come here on a short-term contract. So, it's certainly something that
have a great great Australia team in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, we do.
Yeah, maybe people might think that I'm just something fancy thinking, but it's not, because your career is having so good now. It's actually something stuck from a working career a few years ago, right? It's so amazing. Actually, what's happening? How come such a short time from maybe you are just not even a trainer, but you can start with such a good career from about 6 years ago?
Yeah, well, I've only been training for 2.5 years. I was originally from England and then went to Australia for 1 year for experience, and that was 6.5 years ago, and I never left. So I got my license out in August 2020, and I've just been very lucky. We've had, I think, 7 Group 1s already, but I've been lucky. I've had some really good horses, Zaki and Mwanga in particular, and a lot of good support from lots of different owners. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but I'm fortunate that I've got a very good team behind me, very good staff that work for me, and without having a good team behind you, it's very hard for it all to happen.
So in Melbourne, you learned something really different from Sydney?
Yeah, so Melbourne, the training is quite similar, but different sort of crowds. Melbourne's a very sporty
you have a great teacher there, right?
And yeah, working for Kieran Ma, very different trainer, very laid back.
Okay.
But he always pushes the boundaries. He has lots of different training locations. He started training horses on the beach and in the deep sand, and always looking outside the box, not just training on the track. And I learned from him to always have horses relaxed, and also never to be afraid of trying something new.
I see.
And trying to change things up and get the best out of horses. And probably what I learned most from Kieran Ma is the importance of training a horse for a grand final. It's hard to try and win every single race, but setting a target and working backwards from that. And obviously you want to win everything along the way, but really just having a horse ready to peak on that big grand final day was probably the most important lesson I learned from him.
You know, in Hong Kong, as an assistant trainer, usually I have followed a trainer at least 5 to 6 years for minimum time before you get promotion. However, you seem start up your stable very soon. You are the one who have this determination, or actually is Kieran who asked you, encouraged you to set up your own training stable?
Yeah, well, I did. I had nearly 4 years with Kieran Ma, so and working in the different aspects of the business, obviously being assistant trainer, but a lot of that was dealing with owners and helping with race preparations and recruiting staff, and a lot of the business side as well. So he's been a great mentor to me. He still is now. Sometimes I still ring him and ask him for his advice, but I knew I didn't want to work for somebody forever. I thought I could do it on my own at some stage, and never easy to leave a job like that and go out on your own, but I just felt like the time was right, and luckily so far it's worked out.
I think you like to try a lot of new idea, of have very open mind. For example, when you're planning the distance for a lot of intakes, it starts from a sprinter. Later, when you take over the horse, you race him on a mile, 1,800, even 2,000 meters. So you are always like to take up challenge, or actually different horses you have different sense?
Yeah, I think I just try and treat every horse individually. And sometimes we've had horses that have maybe been sprinters and we've managed to stretch them out over further, and we've had the opposite as well. We've had new horses that have been stayers and we've managed to get them more to become milers. But I think, the one thing we do is, well, as a team, I think, is just identify the horse's individual traits, and although we've got a system as such, it's very individualised for each horse, and just trying to get the best out of each horse.
So another big race coming up to Hong Kong is the QE Cup, 2,000 meter. Coming back again with the same horse or other horses?
I've got another horse, Zaki. He's my best horse. He was favourite for the Cox Plate last year. Sadly, got a temperature on race day, had to be scratched. But he ran 4th in the Cox Plate this year, and he's won me several Group 1s. He won me a $5 million race, the All-Star Mile, and he's been amazing for my career. So I planned to bring him last year or earlier this year for the QE2, but with COVID, we couldn't travel the horse. So we plan to come back this year, end of April.
Wow, so I will see you soon, huh? So
Yeah.
what's the plan back to Australia?
So
Christmas celebration and some big targets on the big races?
I head back to Australia tonight, and then it's Christmas time, but a lot of homework now to go into the Magic Millions sales, which is one of our biggest yearling sales. There's 1,200 yearlings being sold up at the Gold Coast in January, and there's also a big race day there, a big $2 million Australian dollar 2-year-old race. So that's a big target for us, and then we start to build into our autumn carnival with more Group 1 races both in Sydney and Melbourne.
So you buy horses from the sales for the owners to build up your stronger team?
Yeah, we buy a lot of horses at the Magic Millions. It's one of the most successful sales to buy a horse at. So we have some owners have an order. They ask us to buy certain things, and other horses we buy, and then we try to find owners afterwards. So a bit of a mixture. But yeah, we'll certainly be there trying to find the next superstar.
You know, after Sunday, you have a lot of racing friends. They always target your horses in the big races because we always broadcast the race from Australia. Any other big names of horses that they should follow? You plan to send them to the big races to tell the racing fans first?
Yeah, we've got a very good horse called Mwanga. He's a Group 1 winner, won 2 Group 1s. Hasn't won a Group 1 for over a year, but I think the next 3 or 4 months, I think we might see him win another one. And I have another very good young horse called Economics. He's a sprinter. He races for Aquis, who's Tony Fung, obviously Hong Kong based. And he's a very fast horse. He's a sprinter. And who knows, he's maybe a horse we can bring for the sprint race in the future.
Okay, last but not least, in Hong Kong, I think the racing is still very male orientated. Some used to have some female jockey, but it's just an apprentice and very short period of racing career. One assistant trainer, but so far still very limited. How about you think in the world, shower will change to more female orientated with a successful of the female jockey and female trainer?
Yeah, I hope so.
Or hard to turn, to change people's mind, because for the owner, hey, give the horses to female trainer. In Hong Kong, I just predict someday, even it happen, they will still hesitate. Please say something for the females.
Yeah, well, if anyone thinks that, all I can say is being a male doesn't make you any better at training a horse, and I think if anything, a female has a bit more affinity with the animals. Yeah, I think the world is becoming more and more equal. I certainly in Australia never feel that being a female is detrimental at all, and we're seeing more and more female trainers, the likes of Gay Waterhouse, who's one of the best trainers in the world. And I think the female jockeys, you saw Jamie Carr come here, Holly Doyle, we saw Jamie Carr win at Happy Valley, and maybe she comes to ride Zaki in the QE2 Cup, and if she can win that, and if I could win that as a female trainer, maybe we can start to change people's minds. But I find, on the whole, people have been very welcoming to me here, and yeah, not very often do I feel that being female is detrimental.
Don't worry, one day if you really step up a stable, definitely there's a lot of support from the female owners too, Actually, the Elegant Fashion One World is a filly horse, and on Sunday, there's a horse called Bonfitas from David Hayes. It's a very good female. It's a very good filly too,
Yeah, exactly.
You saw her winning? He comes so strong from behind.
So strong from behind, and if you get a good filly, they're so tough. We've seen a lot of the best horses in the world are fillies. So, yeah, wouldn't it be great to see more racing here?
Yeah, anyway, looking forward to see you really soon. See you in the QE Cup.
Thank you. See you
Thank
then.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
us.
much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Have a nice shopping.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.